I don't know if this is even on or not, but I don't know. I've been talking about doing motovlogs for a long time, and just like for my own fun, just editing and stuff, and never really have. I enjoy editing and stuff like that. I enjoy technology. I obviously enjoy writing, but never really have, never really taken the plunge. And I don't even know if this thing is on or what the mic sounds like or anything, but I figured even if I never do anything with this and never post it or whatnot, at least it'll be a good baseline for where we're at with the tech and the setup. I'm using, what is it, like the Golden Squid or Happy Octopus or some shit mic that everybody recommends, and GoPro 9 Black, I think. Yeah, I don't know, I'm at a weird point where like I have a ton of like bikes that I could ride and review and bop around on, and I do enough shit and I commute on these things, but yeah, I don't know, I just never really got into the whole editing thing. Yeah, I don't know, figured I'd give it a try today, and I don't know, this is, episode 1, I guess. Just kind of a mix of motovlogging, talking about life stuff, whatever, and then if people take a liking to it and have questions about certain bikes or working on certain bikes, me and my buddy from Silvertune Performance Engineered, does a ton of, did like the grips on this without fucking up the heating elements, which is pretty impressive on the new ones because they're like embedded with a weird resin. I'll try to put a picture of what it looks like, but yeah, putting even just grips on this bike is a bitch. So shout out to the guy, but they feel great. But yeah, I don't know, so I figured some fun like POV shit, some of the cruises that we all go on, and then try to incorporate some element of like working on bikes. There's a whole story that I really should have done a better job documenting, but I bought a brand new MT-10 at the time. This is last year, 2023, and I bought this new MT-10, and then within about a year, less than a year actually, I got it stolen. I was just sitting underground at my condo, like secure, quote unquote secure underground parking, and yeah, they came in under 10 minutes, punched ignition. Fun fact, if you have a Yamaha, even the new ones, even the R1s, the Euro spec ones have immobilizers, but not the MT-10s and R1s and shit in the US. I don't know why. So I had an air tag on it for GPS, hidden pretty well. They found it, took it out, threw it in some random dude's like garage over north side of the city, which is like a little bit of a rougher area. And me and the guys that I ride with and stuff like spent hours and hours like combing the combing the neighborhood. My girlfriend like stayed up with me on like basically a stakeout of like the address that we thought it was at. Worked with investigators as well, but the bike wasn't insured, so like it was basically just gonna be a total loss for me. Lesson learned, obviously. This is fully covered. So I bought this from my buddy who gave me a really good deal. I actually traded him a Rolex I had and some cash for this because I just wanted to get back on 2 wheels right away. Kind of sucked. And the long story short, I kind of assumed that bike was like in Mexico or like Texas or chopped down overseas or whatever the fuck. And I got a call from local PD, and they just left me a really cryptic voicemail. They literally said, "Hey, this is a call for me, and we have information for you. Give us a call back," and left a number. And so I gave them a call back, and yeah, long story short, yeah, they were like, "Yeah, we have your bike." And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, for sure, like you found the frame where it's like torched like in some shitty part of the city. And they're like, no, like it runs, like there's no issues, like it, they didn't notice any damage to it at all actually, other than the ignition that was obviously punched. And I was like, okay, well that's kind of fucking wild. And then they said, yeah, call the impound lot to pick it up. And because there's no license plate on it, because the people that took it obviously took the license plate off, they're like, hey, like, you got to tow it or whatever out. And I'm like, yeah, that's no problem. Hit up my buddy who has a trailer, and he was like, yeah man, like of course, like feel free to use it. And I got my other buddy, the guy that did the work on this, and I wanted to bring somebody a little bit more mechanically savvy. I'm okay, but like I could easily like not think of something and then like fuck it up worse if there was some sort of damage to it. So I just figured, hey, you know, like, better safe than sorry. Plus, like, if we gotta like drag it onto the trailer or whatever, you know, he's a bigger dude too. So I was like, all right, cool. And he was down to come like super late at night, same day, like no notice. So shout out, you know, my homies, because fucking couldn't have done it without y'all. Yeah, so we went and we were gonna go pick up this bike, but they were like, oh yeah, by the way, there's a hold on it from Minneapolis PD. And I was like, well, yeah, it was stolen, you know. And they're like, no, like they already like removed the stolen hold on it. And I'm like, okay, well, like what's up? And they're like, yeah, there's a homicide hold on it from Sergeant Jensen or something over with North Metro. So I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, like don't worry, like obviously it doesn't involve you, but this was recovered at the scene of a homicide shooting. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, no problem. I was like, what the fuck? So I called the sergeant, right, Sergeant Jensen. It's hot as fuck, by the way. Sorry, I'm like panting. But yeah, I called Sergeant Jensen. I was like, you know, I'm so and so with, you know, this bike, this case number, da da da. And he's like, oh, cool, yeah, no problem, man. Like, just let me know when you want to pick it up, and I'll release the hold, like schedule it for that day, so you don't you know, like pay any storage fees. I was like, not to be that guy, but you know, like what's the story a little bit, because like I want to make sure it runs, if you know, like if I'm gonna pick it up versus like with a trailer. And he's like, oh no, yeah dude, like it should be fine. We didn't notice any damage to the bike. I was like, oh, that's cool. And he's like, yeah man, don't worry, the guy was shot off the bike. And I was like, huh, for sure, sounds legit, appreciate it. So yeah, go pick up the bike, and I'll put in some like videos and footage and shit of us getting it back and stuff. Long story short, yeah, like it was pretty wild. The bike essentially started right up. I did an oil change and then threw it on a battery tender because it was obviously completely dead, because whoever had been riding it was no longer riding it, and had left the ignition on, I guess. I don't know if there was an altercation while they were trying to get on it or off it. It was actually found kind of north side of the city, downtown. I'll drop a pin. It was found, my understanding is off of Washington and 2nd Avenue, so like it's the warehouse district basically. And that's where they found the bike. And there was actually, it was two bikes. It was a new R7 too. Like whoever the fuck was ripping these bikes obviously had a thing for Yamaha, because they had a blacked out R7 there too. It sucks too, because it was like older dude, so like a 47-year-old guy, and then like some random teenager, and I think there was a third victim of the shooting, but it was like shot from a car, so it was like bullets like that like went into the building and shit. The names, so I have, and I'll try to put up some of the info, but I have like a copy of like the incident report, but it's like an ongoing investigation, so like the victim names aren't in there. But yeah, it sucks because some like random kid got hit. Fucking anyway, that's super shitty, but you know, the kid's fine, it sounds like. It's like a 17-year-old. But yeah, anyway, 3 people got hit, and they all went to the local hospital. And then a Nissan, I think it was a Nissan Altima, I want to say, like silver or gray, was seen fleeing and actually stopped literally just 2 blocks away. And if you know anything about the city, there's a bunch of one-ways down there, and the warehouse district gets basically shut down on the weekends, especially like when all the nightclubs and bars close. And this happened around like 3:15 in the morning, which is like, there's still a ton of like cops and shit, like closed roads and stuff down there. It's also like a block away from one of the Minneapolis precincts. So yeah, anyway, they got fucking instantly swooped, and there was 5 people in the car that got pulled over, and they recovered the firearm and some casings. And yeah, I guess it was like a 20-year-old dude, and he's the only guy that I could find a mugshot for. Everybody else I like was like younger. Like there was a 19-year-old, I think there was like a 15 or 16-year-old in the car too, which obviously they went to juvie. But yeah, there were 5 deep in a fucking Nissan. But yeah, they recovered my bike. I don't know if you can hear me over the wind, but yeah, they recovered my bike. And all I did was do an oil change and charge the battery, and it started right up. So yeah, long story short, bike got randomly stolen. It was uninsured. We spent like basically a couple weeks trying to track it down. And I got some guys that, you know, have a background in that stuff, and like, you know, we like actually knocked on a dude's door and like went through his property, looked at his cameras, like it was a whole thing. And yeah, I couldn't find it, and then yeah, got the call and there it was. So I'm definitely gonna keep tabs on how the case, you know, goes, and try to keep everybody, that's not an exit, but okay, keep everybody apprised on you know what the details are, and like, you know, if anybody else has any info on it. But yeah, it's fucking wild, man. I don't know, like it's like a couple things. First of all, insure your fucking bikes. Lesson learned. Obviously I have full coverage on both of them now. Secondly, the world works in weird fucking ways, man. I had been complaining about that bike actually and wanting a rocket, and obviously it would have fucked me a little bit financially, because it's not like I was going to get an insurance payout for that. But yeah, man, I wasn't really grateful. It was a brand new bike, really nice, and like, you know, comfortable, reliable, quick, you know, for what it is, and you know, a very comfortable commuter, which is what I bought it for, and I just wasn't very grateful for it. And then you know, I've never had any issues. I've ridden bikes that are way easier to steal than that one, and you know, parked them on the street, you know, and all types of shit, never had any issues. So for somebody to just come into my apartment, and I live in a pretty like nice building, you know, kind of a newer area of the city or whatever, so for somebody to come in and just jack my shit like that was kind of wild. And then yeah, I just sort of became a lot more thankful for like what I have, as corny as that fucking sounds. And I was like, yeah, you know, I should have appreciated that bike when I had it. Like, you know, I would give anything to get it back, just so I could enjoy riding it again and really like appreciate it like for what it is, you know, which is like a reliable, affordable, you know, relatively quick leader bike that I can be comfortable on, you know, for commuting. Because like the S1 is a wonderful bike, but it, like riding this for 4 hours when you're 6'1", 230 is like not really, you know, like I'm a tall, relatively stocky guy. Like I'm not, you know, like I could drop a little bit of weight, but you know, at the end of the day, like 6'1", I'm only gonna get so light, and the height is honestly the bigger issue anyway. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things where like it just kind of, it was weird. Like I just really wish that I had the bike back, and like I'd even told some of my friends, like I feel like a retard for like whining about it. I probably can't say that online, but yeah, I felt dumb for like for like, you know, I really wanted that bike. I thought it was gonna be a perfect, like, you know, commuter, but still like fast, you know, bike, which I mean it was. And I was like, yeah, this is gonna be perfect, da da da. And then I just sort of like, is this the right fucking exit? That was pretty quick. There's no shot this is the right exit, right? Yeah, wow, it actually is the right exit. That's fucking wild. That's a quick ass fucking ride. That's cool. Okay. Moral of this story is I just like wasn't very thankful for it. It was an amazing bike, perfect for what I wanted it to be. And yeah, I was just being a little shitter about it, and didn't really, you know, I got it, rode it for a season, and then I was like, oh, I want a rocket, I need to be fast. Full disclosure, first bike was a Gixxer 600, and you know, I've ridden predominantly rockets, but you know, so it was my first naked bike, and I was just kind of like bummed. I was like, oh, it doesn't handle the same, and da 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 da. Which, like, I mean, obviously fair, right? But I bought it because it wasn't a rocket. I wanted something more comfortable, something more practical, something cheaper to maintain. You know, I had just come off a MV Agusta, so like sort of the opposite, right? Like really, really, really sporty, really temperamental, really uncomfortable. Like great bike, looks great, very fast, just, you know, feels like shit. So I was like, yeah, I almost got an R1, got the MT instead, and then yeah, I was just kind of whining about it for no fucking reason, really. And at the time, it seemed like the end of the world. Oh, you know, blah blah blah, like it's so terrible, da da da. And then yeah, it's kind of interesting because not only did I definitely get fucking checked by the universe, you know, I got cooked. They definitely humbled the boy, but on top of that, in a weird way, it gave me an opportunity to get this, and you know, it's sort of one of those, like, be careful what you wish for things. Like, I love this bike, and I'll keep it for a long time, and I'm super thankful for it. No regrets at all, no downsides. Easily the most streetable super sport or hyper sport or whatever you want to call it on the market, in my opinion. Way more comfortable than MV or R1 or anything, but I did miss the MT, man. I just missed being able to, like, make a U-turn, like, conveniently, or, you know, some of the other little things, I guess, that you kind of, you know, miss when you are on, you know, I don't know, on a super sport. I mean, they're fun, but like parking it, some of the balance point shit can be a little bit annoying at low speeds. And like I said, I'm a taller guy, not the most comfortable. Brother, do you know where you're going? I know where I'm going. Do you know where you're going? But yeah, man, I don't know. Ultimately, this is just a mic and video setup test, but yeah, just kind of an interesting story. Now the bike is affectionately known as Murder Time. And like some people said, like, oh, it's a bad omen. It was like involved in all this shit, like you shouldn't keep it. In my opinion, there's some other stories that went down like about a week or two before it got taken, actually, and that's another episode for another time. But long story short, it's definitely a good omen bike. That bike basically like saved me from like a bunch of legal bullshit, saved me a bunch of money by like finding its way back if you buy into that kind of shit, and most importantly, like taught me some interesting lessons about like just being thankful for like what you have and shit. At the end of the day, like I just wanted a bike again. I didn't even care what it was. So yeah, just kind of a good perspective to have. But anyway, that's all I got. I'm gonna go catch this lift, but yeah, we'll see how this goes.